Let's proceed with the second presentation of the afternoon, which will be by Dr. Mario Scarpa, with the title Design and Innovation, Shaping Responsible Change. Dr. Mario Scarpa, for more than 20 years, has been active in the field of industrial design and product communication, paying special attention to fashion and its social and environmental impact. His experience includes several fields, and he works together with many fashion companies in Italy and abroad, integrating technology, research, materials, and design. In 2022, he founded Humanumest, a benefit company promoting a more responsible fashion industry through the circular design model of responsible design thinking, promoting the use of skills and creative tools at every organizational level. His presentation will address the crucial role of design in technological innovation and sustainability, highlighting the way how new technologies are redefining creative and productive processes. The integration of advanced instruments such as AI, immersive situations, and 3D printing is actually going beyond the traditional production limits. However, innovation cannot neglect responsibilities. Therefore, the choice of materials, managing the life cycle, and responsible communication are fundamental elements. Mr. Scarpa, you have the floor. Good afternoon, everybody. This morning we heard about rethinking processes and products. And I believe that design has a very important role, which is that of facilitating this process. We frequently tend to think of design as of something that tries to sort out problems, find a technology for a certain shape, a material for certain parameters. Conversely, I believe that design must be a source of solutions to design in an awareness status. So, which are the tools that today can facilitate the transition? There are many, and they're evolving. Then we will try to see which is the role of designers and how this role should evolve. We're going through a historical moment, witnessing a radical innovation which is unparalleled so far. Therefore, it is necessary to understand which are the suitable tools and how skills can be acquired. But what is design? Design could be defined as changing existing situations into preferred ones. And this must be intentional. It's an intentional process. I love this definition. It was given by a Nobel Prize winner, not a designer. And it includes the ameliorating direction, which is different from stylism, which is one of the woes of our industry. Still looking at the past, we can identify the 10 principles of good design enunciated by Dieter Rams. Design is innovative, but it is also honest, long-lasting, and environmentally friendly. You cannot neglect these aspects because these are part of our design culture. Dieter Rams has inspired Apple, for instance, that based its design on all this. Dieter Rams was responsible of the Brown Design Center. That was the equivalent of Apple at that time. Design has also changed in time, predominantly based on the degree of freedom. 2D design is graphic design, but then 3D design came all the way up to the social innovation design, going through system design. This is a wider way of looking at design as a tool, not as a discipline. Sometimes I teach at economics university, where attempts are made of finding a technique for alternative solutions. The European community is quite specific about this. Up to 80% of products' environmental impacts are determined during the design phase. This also applies to the social impact, I believe, which should be also considered when you design. Designers, R&D managers, innovation managers are just like this gentleman. We look at the future without any certainty because we're actually designing the future. But there are some certainties and some obligations. The legal framework is very confused. It keeps evolving, but there are some certain points. When you move from a directive, from a guideline to a rule, we know that this will enter into force. And the rules on eco-design and the packaging and packaging waste regulation are two very strong themes that will involve more and more style centers, R&D departments, and companies at large. This is particularly relevant for jewelry because sooner or later jewelry will be involved in this. And we know that packaging and progress go hand in hand in jewelry, one explaining the other. So which tools do we have? Let's try and classify them. The project, the processes, the materials, the communication, and of course the factor that makes all this communicable and feasible, the people. People must be involved. So back to the first question we asked. What is innovation? This is Schumpeter's concept. Schumpeter is a theoretician of innovation that has given shape to the concept of innovation. So innovation as the creative destruction. And the creative destruction we are viewing today truly is a paradigm shift. It is a paradigm shift. Moving from incremental innovation, little by little, adding features with a gradual improvement, to something that is totally radical. So, which tools? Well, talking about my job, we have moved from the pencil, a fantastic tool that allows you to do everything, masterpieces, that truly do become icons, especially in fashion and in jewelry, or watches. So from the pencil, we have moved to superpowers. Design can be done in shared environment, remotely. You can see the girl wearing the visor. You can even define the context of the environment if you have to design a shop, a point of sale. Or I may want to go into the detail of a piece of jewelry and I zoom it so much that I go inside the jewel. Then, of course, we have generative AI, which, as we have seen, has taken on different forms. We might think that it is no longer necessary to be able to draw to be a designer. As a matter of fact, I believe that AI, generative AI, is a democratic tool because it gives many people in the company the opportunity to state their own point of view. Then we have 3D scanning with tools that are available to everybody. Tools that are innovative because they are generally available. And this is a victory. Many students use all the tools that you can see there. And of course, 3D printing, additive manufacturing, additive technologies for prototyping and small size productions. They merge the concept of idea with the concept of materials in a very short period of time. Time and space are compressed. Let me give you an example. This is not a copy from a real item, but it is an image that has been generated in 2 minutes, starting from a drawing on a napkin. That's a level of detail that you can obtain in a very, very short time. It is pretty amazing. I've been dreaming of this for years. So designers have fewer barriers. It is possible to do many more things in a shorter period of time. So I have tried to give you an idea of the typical workflow in my industry. We try to understand the market. We try to define the brief. Then there is a concept development, concept engineering, sourcing, production, communication, and customer engagement. I'm skipping one of the most important factors, which is a supply chain, because I know that there will be another presentation about this. So I'm not anticipating anything. Let me focus on the design phase. During concept creation, there are several steps. Even though one tends to think that designing is sketching, 3D modeling, and rendering. That's a common belief. But workflows has dramatically changed from 2023 to 2024. In 2023, just to give you an idea, this is what happened. I mean, this shift has taken place in about 6 months in my industry and in my company. We used to start with sketching and drawing on paper, modeling, and then rendering. You couldn't model everything and you couldn't render everything, even though immersive modeling technologies compress the timing significantly. But that meant quite a lot of time. I focused predominantly on jewels and watches, but also spectacles and accessories, characterized by a different degree of complexity. So to evaluate a project, it takes 8 to 20 hours of work. That was year 2023. In 2024, this has considerably shrunk. If with a drawing on a napkin, I can make a shell in 5 minutes, it is very easy to explore and compress the time needed to obtain the item. So 1 or 2 hours. It could take a little bit longer, but for sure the timing has been reduced significantly. And here you can see also some of the tools that can be used to achieve the result. However, luckily, designers do not only draw. And faster does not necessarily mean better. Sometimes it only means more. And this is why I have to come to terms with efficacy and efficiency. Efficiency has increased significantly. I have more ideas. I'm more productive during the creative phase. But what about the efficacy? That's the present workflow. We start from an idea. The rendering is immediately quick. I reuse it. I create fractals of ideas, trees of ideas that can submerge my table in a short period of time. So you can have 70, 80, 200 proposals in 1 week, even less. And now the problem is selecting. When I design with a pencil, I make decisions. I have to decide what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, what fits my brand and what does not fit my brand. So a series of micro decisions, and those 8 to 20 hours are used to select and guide the creative process. Well, here it is like going in the brain cortex of a designer or several designers. So selection becomes the main topic. I'm skipping IP implications, which of course are not neglectable. They've been investigating to make sure that there is no danger of plagiarism. Is AI an output or an input? Probably it is both. If we manage to use it in these flows, we can enhance our way to design, going beyond any barrier of material or rendering or visualization. However, there's another important part of concept exploration. It's the in-depth analysis to try and find the ideal solution. These ideas must be made tangible. I remember talking with a watch executive. He said, I am concerned with what the customer feels when wearing the watch with the eyes shut. Connection with the consumer, the feeling of wearing something, metal, how the metal fits on your skin, how large a watch is, how soft it is. It is very important to be able to perceive all this in a short period of time. Therefore, we can also add 2 extra phases in our workflow. The explorative one, during which prototypes are made, and prototypes are almost the definitive version because, say, they are related to a catwalk, an event. Prototyping is useful, can take place step by step with polymeric materials first, and then we can use metal alloy. And there is also the possibility of generating small productions. Of course, there is an infinite variety of choices. I've used polyjet prints to manage transparency in resins. And this was combined with metal prototypes. Binder jetting is a very promising technology. It helps us reduce energy consumption and recover part of the powder. And it also allows us to design better. Co-creation, decentralized manufacturing, complex geometries. Let's not forget that 3D printing has paved the way to a huge amount of possibilities, including geometries which could otherwise not be accomplished. And you can also leverage on mass customization, mass personalization. There are many different ways to come in contact with the consumer. This is what we've done about 3 years ago for a fashion show. We obtained a texture which is very complex in a very short period of time. This was done locally with a 3D printer. The result was greatly appreciated. And this gives you an idea of how fashion can relate to technology. This connection between technology and fashion can be found in other industries. We tend to view our industry as a closed one, characterized by tradition and competence. Open innovation, however, can sometimes show different examples. Shoes, for instance. Shoes are a good example to to understand what you can do with the 3D printing. Zellerfeld is a company that has focused on this, collaborating with Louis Vuitton Group, Aaron Preston, and Nike. And one of their messages was, now anyone can be a sneaker designer. Pretty vague, but able to give everybody the possibility to exercise your own creativity beyond the physical limit of your own skills. Shoes are a functional item that must compress and strain. So, with one single material, it was possible to simulate different levels of resistance. Using multiple materials, it would have been very complex. And today, it is possible to print with a 3D printer basketballs, parts of shoes, and fashion is moving away from glues. There are many no-glue projects. Let's continue with shoes. In the past, we heard about virtual jewelry, the metaverses of jewelry. Certainly, this is very interesting industry. NFTs and several other technologies have proven to be very appealing to consumers. So Nike bought Artifact, a marketplace workshop for intangible assets. Since January, Artifact stopped working, was closed down. So this is a clear sign of how significant experience is. This does not mean that you have to keep away from these assets. They can be valuable in terms of traceability of digital assets with the blockchain. But this is for sure a very strong signal. So summarizing value creation, thanks to innovation and technology, and thanks to the adoption of these tools, it is possible to understand the market better. The market must be listened to and analyzed, and this can be done today with very powerful tools that are able to process a huge quantity of data. We can design better, and this is a founding pillar of the responsibility of design in the project. A low impact and responsible design. We can produce better because if I can be stock free, if I can have on-demand manufacturing, then we're moving to the no factoring, no waste concept that further increases the efficiency of a company's activities. And finally, educate better. We must educate the consumer in the best possible way.
Ti arriva attraverso un packaging che...
Once the product has been sold and sent to the customer, it is also very important to educate the customer regarding how the product was made, who made it, and which values it represents. There is a lot of talk about corporate ethics embodied in the mission and in the core values, but it is difficult to translate this into a product. Consumers must be aware of what they buy, and designers must be aware of how they design. Let's now move to the designer now. How should designers rethink their role? Well, first of all, designers must be viewed as holistic, because if the execution phase has become shorter, there is a lot of free time. How am I going to use my time? Well, it is important to have the information that support awareness, and events like this one are very useful for a designer to understand what is needed, what should be explored, and when should technology be given a shape. You need to be visionary. It is not necessary to produce more products. Only because my competitor is doing that, I have to do it too. No, it doesn't go that way. And it is necessary to follow and support all the actors of innovation, being a steward, a person that explains the potentials and how they can be applied in a process that is already compressed by brief timing, costs, and rhythms. There are three different ways to use the time you save. And you can see it up there in the top right corner. Some entrepreneurs might think, okay, I can reduce the development time, so I want to have more. I can reduce the development time. I need fewer employees. But when you have to make a decision,
Meno persone che ho bisogno, ma ho bisogno di persone più informate.
it is not that I need fewer people, but I need better educated people. Because they need to know the technology, and we know that technology is evolving. There is no one technology fitting everything. We do not have one AI tool that is fine for everything. No single modeling is good for everything. And then, of course, we must be aware of the impact of what we create. Life cycle assessment, OpenCA, based on Baker Dance, are concepts that are not sufficiently widespread in the design industry. They're still too far away. Conversely, bringing designers, style offices, product offices closer to this opportunity is something very important, considering the time that we're saving. And then, of course, talking about sustainability, a word we hear all too often, we tend to focus on negative externalities. Or what we don't do well, that must be corrected, that must be compensated, that must be traced. It is true, it must be traced. But we tend to forget about the power of a jewelry product, especially if we talk about symbols, culture, values. When we talk about an item that tells a story. And that's a big value of jewelry. Better conceived concepts. Concepts that have been developed in a more aware way, and it is a precise responsibility of designers to be aware. Well, all this can have a significant impact on the market and on society. These are some examples from different industries. It is not just a prosthesis, a product, an accessory. It is something that gives me an emotion. And the true meaning of being a designer is to be able to choose, to find orientation, and to be meaningful. Thank you.
Grazie al dottor Scarpa.
Many thanks, Mr. Scarpa. Now